Heidi got up the next morning to the sound of a loud whistle. The golden rays of the sun made everything in the hut look golden. She recollected where she was when she heard her grandfather's deep voice. She had come to stay with him on the mountains. Heidi jumped out of bed and changed quickly. She climbed down the ladder and ran outside. Peter was there with his flock of goats, and grandfather was bringing two of his goats from the shed. She ran and wished them all good morning. Do you want to go with them to the mountain? Asked her grandfather. Heidi jumped up in joy and said yes. But wash and tidy yourself first. The bright sun overhead will laugh if you remain dirty. See, I have made everything ready for you. Heidi ran to the large tub of water. She scrubbed herself clean. Meanwhile, grandfather called Peter inside and told him to open his meager meal bag. Open it, said the old man. He put into it a large piece of bread and an equally large piece of cheese. They were double the size of Peter's. His eyes widened at their size. They were for Heidi to eat. He then said to Peter, Heidi cannot drink milk directly from the goat as you do. Take a bowl and see to it that she drinks 2 full bowls of milk. Take care of her. She should not hurt herself on the rocks. Heidi was ready. Grandfather said to Heidi, when you come back, go right into the tub, for if you run about like a goat, you will get your feet dirty. Both set out along with the lively goats. The goats ran in all directions. Peter followed them, whistling and calling, swinging his sticks to keep them together. Heidi, surrounded by flowers, picked many on her way. Peter said to Heidi, don't fall over the rocks. Your grandfather has asked me to take care of you. We have a long way to go. On the topmost peak, an old bird of prey sits and calls. They both climbed some distance. When Peter put his bag down and stretched himself on the ground to sleep, Heidi sat beside him, enjoying the beauty and the stillness of the peak. The clouds seemed to have faces like her friends. Suddenly she heard a loud, harsh cry overhead. Looking up, she saw a bird, larger than any she had seen before. It wheeled round and round, wings spread in wide circle, uttering a shrill cry. Peter, Peter, wake up! She cried aloud. The great bird is here, look. Peter watched it as it flew higher and higher before disappearing behind the mountain head. Peter now called the goats. Heidi ran among them, enjoying to see them nibble the juicy stems. Peter took out his meal and lay it open. He milked the goats in the bowl for Heidi. Heidi shared her meal with Peter, which made him happy. Heidi wanted to know the names of the goats. Peter knew them by heart. Turk had big horns always ready to fight. Greenfinch was slender, agile, and dexterous. White Snowflake was delicate and plaintive, which made Heidi put her arms around her. All of a sudden, Peter ran hastily after the goats. Heidi followed him. Something was amiss. He had caught sight of inquisitive Greenfinch leaping in the direction where the rocks fell to great depths below. Peter leaped just in time to seize one of her hind legs. Greenfinch struggled to free herself. Heidi sensed the delicate situation and danger, both for Peter and the goat. She quickly gathered a bunch of sweet smelling leaves and then, holding them under Greenfinch's nose, said coaxingly, "Come, Greenfinch, don't be naughty." The goat turned towards her and returned to safety. Heidi shielded her from Peter when he lifted his stick. Peter promised not to hit her, only if Heidi would give him more cheese from her meal the next day. She promised that she would. The day came to a close. Heidi was gazing at the bluebell-shaped flowers. She suddenly shouted, "Peter, Peter, look!" The high rock up there is red with flame, the beautiful fiery snow. The sky, the fir trees, everything is on fire. It happens at sunset every day. It will also happen tomorrow. Explained Peter. We must go home. They started on their journey back home. Grandfather, as usual, was sitting under the fir tree waiting for his goats to return. Heidi ran to him, full of chatter, explaining to him the natural wonders she had seen on the mountains. She excitedly wanted to know reasons for many things. She wanted to know why the sun made all things seem on fire. Grandfather said when the sun says good night to the mountains, he throws his most beautiful colors over them so that they may not forget him before he comes again the next day. Heidi was delighted with this explanation and could hardly wait for the next day to come, to climb once again with the goats and see the sun bid good night to the mountains. She went to sleep dreaming of shining mountains with red roses all over them, into which happy little snowflake leaped in and out. आज का होमवर्क काफ़ी सिंपल है. आपको इसी लेसन से 10 वर्ड्स ढूंढने हैं जो W से स्टार्ट होते हैं.